Get ready for the Speed of the Game podcast from downtown Detroit with your host, Dan Gilbert. If you can't keep up with the speed of the game, well, you can't play.
Welcome to the Speed of the Game podcast. I'm Dan Gilbert from downtown Detroit, Michigan, Wayne County, United States of America. And with me today, very special guest today, very interesting guest today, Josh Luber from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, now a resident of the Detroit area here and working in downtown. It's very cold here midwinter in the Motor City, but it's very hot on the StockX platform. So Josh Luber, one of the primary founders of StockX, and a background, your whole background is sneakers. You lived and loved sneakers since you were a little kid. Let's go there first. Your first pair of sneakers. How old were you? Do you remember the day? Where were you? What did you buy?
The first pair of Jordans that I ever bought, which I think is the sort of seminal moment in a lot of sneakerheads, because I have the same story as every other 40-year-old sneakerhead, which is I grew up playing basketball when Jordan played. I always wanted Air Jordans. My mom would never buy me Air Jordans. As soon as I got some money, we all have the exact same story. And I have shoes from when I was in 7th and 8th grade, but 6 months after I got my first job after college, in 2000, I bought my first pair of Jordans, which was a pair of Jordan 11 Concords, which is a very iconic shoe. Yep. And at the time, I actually went to the mall and bought it at a store in a mall about 3 months after it came out, which today would be unheard of. And I think a lot of us look back of what that first pair of Jordans was as that sort of seminal moment.
And do you have that pair of shoes today?
I do. And in fact, what happened is I played basketball in that shoe for the next 18 months. And completely beat it. And it looks like I played basketball in it for 18 months straight, but I still have it, and it's absolutely destroyed.
So you said this was when you graduated?
Yeah, after I graduated college. About 6 months after I graduated college, had my first job and bought a pair of Jordans.
Right. And was the concept of buying sneakers and collecting sneakers and trading sneakers, so you said it was around year 2000?
Yeah, that was 2000. I graduated college in 99.
So back at the turn of the century, right around there. And when you were doing that, was that new at the time, or was it even happening before then, when you were in high school, junior high, or whatever?
It was happening before then, but interestingly, and I didn't realize this till many years after I graduated college, but 99, 2000, I mean, that was the internet, that was eBay, that was, and the sneaker industry now, you can look back and see that was a really sort of a critical moment where it went from being a very local underground thing to being a global underground thing, if that makes sense, where at least we could buy and sell from people across the internet and buying things on eBay and elsewhere, even though in the very infancy of the internet, that was still a little bit, first thing I ever bought on eBay was a CD. The second thing I ever bought was a car. So.
It wasn't a William Shatner toupee or anything.
No.
Nothing like that.
Or a broken pen, right?
Yes. So, those of you who are deep into the eBay thing, you'll understand that that's an inside stuff. So here's the deal. Tell me if you think the internet is going to catch on.
It might work out.
It might work out.
Yeah.
To this day, I'll say that to people. I go, the internet thing changed a lot of things. You think it's going to catch on? People will look at me and say, like, they don't get I'm kind of messing around. Anyway, the internet allowed so many businesses to flourish or change or be different or connect to the world and all that business. So StockX now we're 3 years old.
We're 3 weeks away from 3 years old.
Not even 3 years old. Not even a 36-month car lease, which goes by fast, right? I remember that. It goes by fast when I used to lease cars. And now we are selling, not selling, but we're providing a platform for buyers and sellers to sell sneakers, handbags, streetwear, watches. And the record day, I think, was so far in the evolution, which I'm sure will be broken soon, but was the Black Monday, what do they call that, or Cyber Monday?
Yeah, the last Cyber Monday.
It was like over 40,000 transactions.
Yeah.
Truly remarkable, and all over the world, and you've got authentication centers everywhere. So tell me, when you're thinking, or when you're working in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania just a few years ago, or maybe you weren't exactly in Philly then because you were working for IBM, but you were at night. Tell everybody at night what you were doing, because daytime IBM, nighttime, what were you doing?
Yeah, what's interesting, and looking back at my career, so I've started and run 3 other startups before this. None of them had anything to do with sneakers, almost intentionally separating sort of business and pleasure in my life.
Deep down in your psyche or somewhere in your Achilles heel, you realized sneaker opportunity was coming your way.
Well, or I grew up in a time where when I was in high school, entrepreneur wasn't a word.
Yeah.
The idea of sort of chasing your passion and going after that was not a thing. It was a much more linear career path. If you go to school and you go to grad school and you become a lawyer or a doctor, business, like that was the very linear career path.
Josh, it's funny you said it. I literally used the same words probably 3-4 weeks ago to a group of younger people. I said, do you know that an entrepreneur, like when I was in high school, college, whatever, you'd say that word and probably 1 out of 20 people even heard of it. What are you trying to be cool and talk French, or what are you trying to do? So it's a phenomenon. Now everybody knows what that word means. So you're right.
Yeah, and certainly being an internet entrepreneur didn't happen until the internet, right?
That's right.
And so I think a lot of those opportunities came about for people, and I think I graduated college either 4 years too early or 4 years too late, right? I graduated in 99. If I graduated in 95, I would have been part of that first, that first internet
wave,
1.1, the whole bust and all that. Or if I graduated 4 years later, now you would have been past that and you would have been back into that,
right.
That internet entrepreneur activity. And so the first startup that I ever created, it was a home computer consulting company. It was not at all a technology company in any way whatsoever. It was the exact opposite of it.
So wait, you consulted computers that were at homes? What did you do
Exactly?
Yeah.
This was, I don't know if you're familiar with the company Geek Squad that basically goes out to people's houses and helps them fix their computers. This was Geek Squad before Geek Squad. And I was living in Atlanta after I graduated college. And we would have technicians who were computer science graduate students who would go to people's homes and set up a wireless network or troubleshoot their computer. I mean, really like basic, just helping people with their computer, right? The farthest thing away from a technology business and the last thing that scales, right? That doesn't scale at all.
And you just added, what did you add? Just some kind of premium onto the hourly or whatever the person was
exactly,
being paid.
right? I wasn't the technologist. I couldn't go out and actually do the work. We would create the business. We would get the customers. We would schedule them, and then we would pay the consultants, $30 an hour. We might charge $80 an hour, right? Yeah. And create a business like that. Yeah. But what was interesting was as I grew in my career, in between every startup, there was some corporate job. That was, and then sort of you duck back into that sort of linear world of this is how I grew up and was more traditional path. And it wasn't until sort of jumped 3 startups and 3 corporate jobs later that I was at IBM. And I was at IBM and I moved to New York City in 2010, took a job as a strategy consultant at IBM, which would be a very sort of typical post-MBA job. I was, sitting there in miles and miles of Excel spreadsheets, doing all this data work for IBM.
First of all, you were the last person in the world looking at you, knowing you, and even when I first met you, thinking that you were at IBM. And I'm going to suspect you weren't wearing a backwards cap, a hoodie, and all that at IBM.
The first thing that you ever said to me?
No, I can't. Yeah. What did I say?
So I was wearing a skull cap. I was not wearing a beanie. Yeah. And the first thing you ever said to me was, I bet you're the only guy at IBM that wears a hat like that.
So at least not consistent, right?
Right.
But did you really wear a suit and a tie to IBM? What did you do?
It was business casual, so I didn't have to wear a suit and a tie. But I was definitely more on the casual side of the business.
Did anybody like some of those guys in those white button-up shirts and ties have been there for 30 years at IBM look at you like, walk by, what's this guy?
Absolutely. One time, and this is a true story, our practice group leader thought I was the copy guy once. And that's a long story. But
I'll tell you this, within 5 years ago, I had got my hair cut real short. I got it buzzed, and I was wearing blue jeans and a T-shirt. And I was out in front of some restaurant waiting for my car. And an older guy went and gave me the valet ticket and gave it to me. So I ran and got his car. I almost wanted, it was a really nice car, too. I think it was a Mercedes. I was just going to keep driving it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So and he didn't even tip me, too, by the way, when I brought the car. So here's my question for you. So you are, like, in startup heaven right now. Like, everybody, there's a lot of startups that happen in the world, but now here you are, online, e-commerce, a platform that's changing the game, not only the speed of the game, but the game itself. Venture-backed funding from Google Ventures, Battery Ventures. You're sitting here in the middle of our family companies, 600 employees, less than 3 years, creating jobs, creating excitement. I mean, what are the elements that have to come together to create that kind of hyper-growth startup?
This doesn't exist. Like, this is fantasy land, and it kills me as we're going out there and recruiting people, because we're over 600 people at StockX right now and hiring more. And how many people I've come across who don't understand the opportunity. This was all I was looking for in between every single startup. Was like, man, I would love to work for a super fast growing company in a space doing something innovative like this doesn't exist. And I'm unbelievably fortunate after having done 3 startups to be now in a position where, I mean, we're over $1 billion run rate. We're not even 3 years old. Yeah. And it is day zero around here in terms of the opportunity. And that is just, it's an extraordinary situation. And what's great for myself and for Greg, who's our COO and co-founder, is we get to go out there and now talk to other entrepreneurs who've been in this place, because it's rare air, and try to understand how we get to the next level. We were talking about podcasts earlier and different ones. One of the ones that we both listen to is Masters of Scale with Reid Hoffman, where he's going out there and interviewing other entrepreneurs who've taken that leap, who've gone from where we are now to that next thing. And it's a really, really extraordinary place to be. A
little side story on Reid Hoffman. So this summer, Reid invited me to be on his podcast in the summer in the middle of the country, and we were there because we were both there at the same time. He brought us a little equipment stuff. We sat down. We started talking about quantum physics. And when we went on for like 45, 50 minutes, and he looked at his watch. We both had meetings. We couldn't do it. We had to delay it. We haven't done it yet, just for the record. But he has a great podcast.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's actually the only one that I listen to on a consistent basis. I'll jump around the others, but like the ones in there are great. And then we both come back, and not only Greg and myself, but some of the other senior leaders at StockX all listen to that and come back with nuggets that help us in this company.
Right, so here you are. You said it doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often. And I have to tell you, for myself, been in business for 33, 34 years, Quicken Loans was a long, we started off as a traditional company before the internet, and then we got the internet later, and that's a whole longer run. This is a whole different type of ball game, and it's rare. It's rejuvenated a lot of people around here, including myself, and there is nothing in business more exciting than a startup that's going from zero to the moon in a quick way, and it's bringing a new, it's not just a Me Too company. I mean, it's literally a new idea. There was a book written way back, and I forgot who the author was. He said it was better to be first than be better. Better to be first than be better. And then it talked about, Microsoft when they were beating Apple way back then, and then you had, of course, AOL, which took where were those ones before AOL, like Prodigy and a bunch of other ones. Now that actually conflicts with it, so because that came second, third, fourth. And then there's ones like, Google was first, Microsoft was first, but Apple came. I mean, but it takes time. And if you have a lead, though, in something that you have an advantage in, and you create the platform, unless you blow it, it's like one of those things, you've got to blow it to not maintain your lead, but that can happen, right? What's your biggest fear?
Well, just real quick on that point, there are certain businesses, marketplace businesses being one of them, that being first and building that moat, because it's just hard to catch up in a marketplace business, right? There are some businesses like Uber and Lyft is a good example where literally on a dime I could switch and say I'm never going to use Uber again, I'm going to use Lyft. And I did that when Lyft created a deal with Delta to have Delta Sky Miles, and I've never used Uber ever again. That doesn't happen in a marketplace business. And so for us to be first and to have a different model to go out there and do that has really been a great thing for us to be both first and better, I think, for certain products.
Let's go.
Well, you all know what the stock market is, right? That's where you trade stocks. There's a bid, there's an offer, there's reporting of pricing that comes out every second of the day that the market's open. How come there's never been a stock market of things? Well, I got some good news for you. There is now, and it's called StockX. If you haven't heard about it, and 5 million people have who signed up and are trading on it, you can actually trade things like sneakers or handbags or watches or streetwear, and they're going to add a bunch more products on there soon, where you can actually look at live bids, live offers, and look at prices that have been paid, actual trades that have happened. So you can look at the time, the date, and the price of the trade, and it's pure 100% visibility. And here's the other thing. StockX authenticates the items or the things before the buyer gets them. If you're a buyer, you won't get it unless StockX gets behind it and is authenticated. If you're a seller, you've got a huge marketplace of millions of buyers who could pay market price for your things, the stock market of things. I mean, on the streetwear side, they've got Bape, Supreme, Palace, Kith, those kinds of brands. Sneakers have everything, Nike, Jordan, Adidas, and more. You've got on the handbag side, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Gucci, Hermes, and your typical watches, but Rolex, Omega, Tudor. There's tens of thousands of items on StockX. You get a live marketplace, and it's anonymous, it's liquid, it's just like the stock market. The stock market of things, you can download the app at Android or iOS, or go to StockX.com. So check out the marketplace of things. I think you're going to like it. 5 million people have registered as registered users, and you have to register to become, a user, and you can sell or buy or both. And what is though the biggest challenge? There's a lot of challenges of a startup, and we talk every day almost and go through this. But for you as a CEO of a startup that everybody says, wow, man, we are growing fast. We are doing this, we're doing that. But there's a lot of pressure that comes with that, right? But what is your biggest fear?
The biggest fear, and it's the same thing around the biggest challenge, right, is prioritization, right? There's a million things that we can choose to do. There's a million opportunities in front of us, a million different ways to go into other geographies, other product categories, other marketing opportunities, other people you hire, and to prioritize the right ones and to stay focused, because, I mean, we have really big aspirations for what this can become, and it's how quickly you can get there and do that. And so, for us, it's around prioritization and trying to make sure that we're making those right choices.
And so what drives prioritization? And I absolutely agree with you, by the way. So, again, you just use that word quick and speed of the game. And, the reason we even named this podcast Speed of the Game is because in elite businesses and businesses are growing very, very fast, because of the nature of technology and because technology moves information faster and faster and the pipe is bigger and bigger. Now what do you do? Because all this information's at your fingertips. Sometimes it's in raw form, sometimes slightly better, but you got to figure out how to consume it, right? And then how to prioritize it, curate it, prioritize it. But once you do, you still have to, like the last step, as I said, is prioritizing. What do we base, or what do you base? Let's prioritize around X.
We still, even at 600 people 3 years into this, $1 billion run rate, we still prioritize iteration, right? To make decisions quickly, to get feedback, and to change that. And
to the product.
To every part of the business, to the product, to marketing, to the team, to every part about it. And the part of the challenge now with 600 plus people, and it's one of the things that the leadership team at StockX has been trying to continue, is to let everyone operate the same way when there were 7 of us, right? When there were 12 of us, when there were 15 of us, to just go and do something and find out. And if you get it wrong, you get it wrong, and then you can iterate and make a different decision. But indecision or sitting and thinking that you have to come up with the perfect plan or that's not what speed of the game is about, right? No. It's about moving quickly.
It's about moving quickly. Trying to put some governors on it so you don't risk or blow the company. While you're doing it, but. As we talk about often, and I've talked about publicly, going 0 to 30 much different than going 30 to 70 or 70 to 100. And so, you also have a day job. There's a reason why innovation comes from smaller, nimble companies, because the bigger companies, A, they have a day job, and B, it just becomes harder to move the shipping, the approval process and the risk profile. How do you deal with that?
One of the things that has really been an extraordinary benefit for Greg and I running this company is that we're essentially, we have 2 CEOs and we have 2 people leading the company, and that we can divide and conquer and do that. And, he is often more running the day job, and I get to go out and talk to brands about doing things like IPOing products on the site and do that.
What is IPOing product, just so we all know, on StockX?
This is the exciting part, right, is working with brands to release products onto the site, to become an alternate retail channel, right? Today we're a better secondary market for certain products, and we've become a very large secondary market, but to be an alternate retail channel and be a better primary market as well, and do things that are really never have been done before. And so it's not only, by the way, not only just Greg and I, but in certain parts of the business to have multiple leaders and multiple people that can attack different parts of it, because you still do have to run the core business 100%.
Yeah. Tell us about the one we recently did.
Yeah, so this was the first large-scale IPO that we've done. An IPO for us is initial product offering, right?
Yep.
And this was a slide. It was a sandal with a celebrity jeweler named Ben Baller, and there were 800 pairs of this slide.
Hold on just one second. When in America did sandals start becoming named slide? Where did that slide been around a long time? Am I just missing it?
I think I missed my slide history.
You don't know? Exactly how long has it been since you heard the word slide?
Well, I'll tell you what. So having grown up playing basketball, slide was there's not the toe loop, right, where you can just slide your foot right in, as opposed to a sandal or something where you have the toe
thong,
loop,
like a thong. I used to call them thongs.
Right, where you go in between your first toe. Yeah. So the slide is more like the basketball, just slide your foot.
So you slide it right in. That's been around a little bit. 15 years, 10 years?
I'm going to say at least as long as Jordan. So how about that? So
I'm really embarrassed that I didn't follow the whole slide culture. But anyway, go finish your story.
So 800 pairs of slides, right? 2 colors, red and black. This is a slide that would, if it retailed, maybe it would retail for $60.
Okay.
Right? But because it was with this celebrity jeweler who has a big following and has a lot of famous friends, there were a lot of people that wanted this. So there was a lot of demand for this slide because of who he was and what it was. And on the slide, it said, Ben Baller did the chain, which is a lyric from a famous rap song. We sold this, 800 pairs of these, as a blind Dutch auction, which we didn't use the word blind Dutch auction.
First of all, let's talk about
right?
Yeah, in no harm meant for anybody who's Dutch and happens to be blind.
Yeah.
But what is a Dutch
Exactly.
Dutch auction? Because let's explain that for a Dutch auction means.
So this is a method that a lot of stocks and securities are priced at, and it's a way to have a fair, true market price for something that goes out into the market. And the method was this: everybody bids blind, whatever they want to pay. So you don't see anyone else's bids. You just bid whatever you think you want to pay for this.
So you put up the item. So here's the item.
And we know how many are there. And let's say a black size 9, there were 60 slides, 60 pairs available for black size 9.
Yep.
And you can bid whatever you want.
Yep.
And how much do you want to bid?
$208.
You bid $208. That's a good number.
Yeah.
You bid $208, and you don't know what anyone else bids, but there's 50 pairs available of black size 9.
Okay.
At the end of the auction, the top 50 people win that slide.
Top 50 highest prices.
Top 50 highest.
What if there's
prices.
more than 50 at a tie, the same price?
That's a
or
good
the last
question.
5 or 10 are at the same price?
It goes by time.
By
It
time
goes
you
by
did
time
make
you
the
do that,
bid.
right?
Time's a tiebreaker.
Right. So let's say that the number 1 bid is $1,000, and number 50, right, is $170, right?
Okay.
And you were at 208, so you were somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
Okay. Number 50, 170, that is called the clearing price.
Everyone gets it at 170.
Everybody gets it at 170. Even
Yeah.
the person that paid $1,000, even you that bid 208,
Right.
everybody pays 170. Google made this somewhat popular, or at least awareness around this when they started in the early days. They were selling keywords based on this philosophy, which is that they would give it to the highest bidder. For if you're bidding for mortgage, and you're going to bid for a Google keyword and bid for mortgage, but you would pay what the second highest person bid, right?
So the second highest, okay.
Right, so that way that person, it encourages high bidding, but you don't feel like you're the sucker that you bid $1,000 for the keyword, but the next highest bid guy bid $300, and you go, oh man, I could have gotten it for $350 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of companies have used this as a method to price things fairly. In that scenario, assuming everyone had a different bid, 49 of those 50 people get it for less than what they bid.
Right.
Everybody wins in that scenario.
But not only that, you were showing me on these big, what do you call it? Ben Baller? What's his name?
Ben Baller.
Ben Baller black slides, size 9.
Mm-hmm.
You were showing me that these things cleared at, I don't know what it was, 170 or 208 or something like that. But the secondary market on StockX, they're trading at $400 or $500.
Right. And, it was great to see that happen because the macroeconomic theory is that in a Dutch auction, slides, any asset will clear greater than what the retail price would be, but less than what the secondary market would be. Because everyone's trying to get a deal. If you think that the secondary market of this product is going to be $400, then you're going to bid less than $400 because you're not going to bid more because I could just buy it on the secondary market afterwards for $400. So you're going to try to get a deal and try to bid somewhere less than $400. But you got to bid more than retail because this is a highly coveted item. And that's exactly what happened.
So when you say retail, though, in a IPO initial product offering on StockX, you said it's Dutch auction. So what is the real? Is that a fantasy number? The retail?
It is, right? Retail is still an antiquated notion that we have some recollection to. So people know what a slide might cost today at retail, and so people have some anchored number of, this slide might cost $50, $60, $70, and so people are in that range. They know it's that. They think it's going to be $400 on the secondary market, so they bid somewhere in the middle. And that's exactly what happened. And as soon as the IPO ended and we opened the secondary market, there were asks over $500 for some of the slides.
And what about bids? Were there bids?
Yeah, and we're just today, right? We're starting to see the bids and asks being matched and start to sell.
Because anybody you can ask what you want. So the real important is the bids.
And we'll see what sales look like over the next couple weeks as do it. But this is the future, right? Yeah. Like we'll continue to dominate the secondary market, but this is the, for lack of a less sort of cliche way of saying it, this is the truly revolutionary stuff, right?
Well, there's no question.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about the visibility that StockX brings in pricing, you know, you're looking at every live bid, you're looking at every live ask, you're looking at every sale, date, time stamped, going back in time from the current moment, real time back. Now you've deployed what the U.S. stock markets have deployed for 150 years into the stock market of things. And prior to this, you know, there'd be a guy on one street corner selling a shoe for X. You know, the buyer never feels good. The seller never feels good. You really don't know what the market clearing price is. It's all in a blind market. And as my teenage kids told me about 6 months after we started StockX, Dad, you sucked the damn juice out of the market.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we did, because now, you know, you're not needed in there.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's the idea, to deliver the best price for both seller and buyer, the market price, the true market price.
Yeah, and look, the first thing you said there around, you know, the fact that the stock market has been this way for hundreds of years, that's the best part, right? We didn't make this up, right? All we did was we pointed it from these commodities, from stocks and bonds and oil and gas to sneakers and streetwear and watches and handbags. And
so I understand there was an incident where either a buyer, a seller, or both, and when you were speaking not too long ago in a public forum where we're yelling at you, I guess, or you're really critical of you, standing up live. And tell me what their issues were and how you handled it exactly.
Sure. People are very passionate about their sneakers, and they're very passionate about their money. One of the quote problems that some people have found on StockX is it's too transparent and it's too easy to bid. And so the question from the audience member was, what are you going to do about undercutting? Now, I disagree with the premise that there's a problem with undercutting, but what happens on StockX, because all the asks are in one place, in one product page, someone can have an ask for $400, and the next person come and place an ask for $399, and the next person come and place it for $398.
Yeah,
and
that's called the market, right?
That's called the market. Look, that process happened before, but they just happened on eBay in 400 different product pages, where someone would just put up a new auction for $398, and right
with inaccurate data, old. You got to
Exactly.
check the seller out and see if he's legit, all that stuff, right?
And so, because we've made it so transparent that you can see everything right there, right? There is this thought that somehow this is wrong, right? Or that people aren't doing that. But this is the trade-off of in the entire world, in every form of commerce, that if you want to get the most money, it's going to take a little bit longer. If you want to sell it quickly, you're going to take a little bit less.
Or he could be, why doesn't he turn around and become a buyer?
Right.
If he thinks the price is going down. So
Right.
it's really just about where the price is and whether you're a buyer or seller, or neither at that point.
Yeah. And so, look, we told this gentleman that this is the free market, and we're not going to do anything about it. We understand why that it's frustrating, but the best part about that was, because this person was very, very passionate about this, and it got a little bit uncomfortable for a minute. But what happened afterwards, because someone captured it on video and put it on the internet, sneaker Twitter the next day, everybody came to StockX's defense.
Yeah.
Every single person with that, and said, what is it like? This is how the market works.
I mean, it's hard to defend a position where, hey, I don't want a transparent, visible marketplace because I want to sell you something a little bit higher than
That's right.
I think it's somebody wants to pay.
That's
I mean,
right.
it just doesn't make any sense. But
And those were the people that, and initially and even now, are a little bit SOL, the people that used to be able to gouge people based on imperfect information, based on they were the only ones that understood what the market is. Now we've given everyone the transparency, so that person can't gouge people
But
anymore.
that person at one point is a buyer, or at all points had to be a buyer before they're being a seller. So now you could always turn it around. I'm saying, well, wait, you're buying these at a much better price, aren't you? Isn't that helping you on the buy side? So there's always the other side of the coin. Let me go to another subject. 600 people. We're here in Detroit. We represent the Midwest, Lake Erie. Got Cleveland here on today. I don't know who your hat is. What's your hat? I can't see the backwards.
Tigers. It's always Tigers.
Detroit. We're downtown Detroit. 600 people. There's been a lot of talented people that have come to this startup right here in downtown Detroit, despite the sub-Arctic temperatures, but we're coping with it really well. How many people have come? You've come from Philadelphia. How many other people, and I know there's many of them, who've come from different cities, high-end folks, people who just get out of college and just love sneakers or love the platform, that have come to Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
Not Silicon Valley, Detroit, Michigan, for this startup.
Yeah, so of the 600 people, about half of that is our operations team, the authenticators, and we have operations facilities. The largest is here in Detroit. Of of the business side, of the 300 people on the business side, about a quarter of those people have moved from other cities to Detroit to work with us.
So 75 people.
Yeah, it's right.
Can you name just a few of the, the positions and what cities they came from to come here? Do you have
literally, there's people in every different group. The person who runs our content team came from Los Angeles, had been working for TBS there, running content there. The person that runs our brand marketing team came from New York.
They're all over. I bumped into a guy from Atlanta on the elevator program. It's a mobile app guy.
It was our first Android engineer. It was from Atlanta at Georgia Tech. The guy who's our newest supply chain expert was from Portland. The guy who runs our entire operations facility is from Chicago. The guy who runs our the other supply chain senior leaders from Seattle. We can go on. Literally in every part of the organization, there are people that we've moved from other cities here to Detroit.
Yeah, it's interesting because you can stay in those big city, glamorous cities, and there are a lot of companies doing a lot of good things, but you can come here and get at one of the fastest growing, coolest companies in America, and there's several of them here, and be a bigger fish maybe in a smaller pond or whatever you want to call it, and you can be part of the rejuvenation of this great city, Detroit. Or Cleveland has a Quicken Loans operation. A lot of the Midwest cities are now, as Steve Case, my good friend Steve Case says, the rise of the rest, meaning outside of the coast are catching up in the technology and coming through with their own niche, like creating their own niche, right?
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of the things that I say a lot. I don't know if I've told it to you. I view it being a startup guy as now we're in a startup city. And if you're a startup guy and you or a girl, or you're a startup person and you're an entrepreneur, you get to be part of a startup city now, because every day there's a new building and a new restaurant and a new company, and so we don't work on Detroit stuff all day every day, but we're part of it, and that's a great place to be.
Yeah. So if you were running, let's say, the Convention Bureau of Detroit or one of these sort of places gets involved in having a slogan for Detroit, would you rather go with Detroit Startup City or America's Comeback City? Which one rings better for you?
I like Detroit Startup City.
Me too.
Yeah.
The other one's sort of been used a lot, right? Isn't it? Okay, so good. That's 2-0. We got to change it, guys. But they're doing a good job bringing companies here.
Particularly for technology startups, what's great about Detroit, and to Steve Case's point, a lot of the rise of the rest cities versus say Silicon Valley or New York, is that you don't have every other tech company there trying to poach your people and moving around. Yeah. Our retention rate for everybody, in particular engineers, is extraordinary. And part of that is StockX, and part of that, but it's also because we get to be the fast-growing startup here that pulls people in.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there's been 3 or 4 CEOs in Silicon Valley I've had conversations with one-on-one off the air, but talking to them and said their number one issue is the engineers at their companies are lasting on 17 months on average.
That's crazy.
And their people are poaching each other. The cost of living, you have to drive from whether the Valley into San Francisco or the other way around, 2 hours both ways. And it's not that there's not good things about that market. There are obviously some great things about it, and they're leading the world in technology. But there are some things here that you can get the best of both worlds. So. We'll stop on that. Anything else? Last thing you want to?
Well, since we're talking speed of the game, I brought you a present.
Oh man!
And that is a pack of basketball cards from 1990.
Holy! Way back in 1990. 1990 is now 29 years ago. Mm-hmm. Those of you at a certain age, 1990 is almost 30 years ago. That's hard to believe.
I know. And so I thought we could open it.
You want me to open it right now?
Open it and see what the NBA looked like in 1990.
Does it ruin the value of the? Okay, here we go. It's the only way to do it. Oh man, I bit something that's from 1990. Could be really.
At least there's no chewing gum in these packages.
Oh yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Okay. Wow. We've got. I actually have to admit, in 1990 I wouldn't have had to do this, but. In 2019, got to put peepers on. Do you like these? Are new peepers, Josh? Do they pass the style test?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. Oh, here we go. We got Mike Gminski. Oh, Mike Sixers. Do you remember him?
Sure, yeah.
You remember
1990, the Sixers won the division.
That's right. 1983, they won the championship, didn't they? Okay. Wayman Tisdale, Oklahoma, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't he come from Oklahoma? And, Wayman Tisdale. Man, that's a name from the past. Mm-hmm. Steve Alford sporting those shorty shorts.
Yeah.
Man, how do those? Some people think they're coming back. I find that hard to believe.
I don't think they're getting back to that.
John Stockton not to that. Level. No, and that's we're dealing with Steve Alford here. Jeff Malone, not Moses Malone, but Jeff Malone. Do you remember Jeff Malone?
Yeah, he was an all-star for a year or two with Washington.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. There we go. Greg Schwartz. Just kidding. That's the CEO of StockX. Mark Price, one of the famous Cleveland
Mark
Cavaliers, one of the most exciting players.
The jersey, style you're wearing now.
Right here. And Mark Price, I actually talked to Mark Price not too long ago.
Look at the size of Mark Price versus the size of the Cavaliers point guard today.
Well, he's like 5'10" or something.
Yeah.
But you still have a few of those players, Isaiah Thomas and that. So Michael Holton.
I don't even know that guy.
You don't know Michael Holton? Well, yeah, either do I. But Michael Holton played for the Charlotte at the time. We've got Vinnie Johnson, who could forget the microwave here. Championships at 89 and 90. What a great guy. And by the way, Vinnie Johnson, my understanding, is created a business empire unlike almost anybody. Yeah, he's got a whole part supply. He's in Detroit. Yeah, he's doing a great job. And you have Sedell, not the Sedell that's on our team, on the StockX. Threat. I never heard of it.
Yeah.
How do you say Sedell 3? I don't.
Sedell 3. He played for the Sixers, that's why I know him.
He's played for the Sonics. And then you've got Kelvin Upshaw. And then, man, this goes, first of all, the packs today don't have this many cards.
I don't think they do. I think it's like 5 cards.
They chisel it out. Mark Bryant, don't know much about Mark Bryant. Mitch Richmond, we know him.
There you go.
Yeah, he was a star.
Run TMC.
Yeah, he was good. He could shoot the ball. Man, and then you got John, say it.
Sunvold.
Yeah, John Sunvold.
John Sunvold. This is right after the Hornets and the Heat joined the league. And the Heat joined the league in like 88.
Yep. And then we got 3 more here. Mark O'Leary. I got to tell you something. This pack, this pack,
it's not,
I mean, nothing against these players.
3 cards left.
But we got 3 cards.
I'm
I'm looking for let's see here. So we have Mark O'Leary.
I've never
Mark
heard
O'Leary.
of O'Leary.
Yeah. And then we've got 2 more. Donald Royal. I played this game on the Cavs radio with our guys when I go on a quarter every few months, twice a year maybe. And I said, 2nd round draft pick or U.S. president. So you had to guess. I'd see a name.
Oh, a name and they
2nd round draft pick or U.S. president, right? So I go I have to think of the names. I'd go man, I can't think of any now. That's it. Okay. Then we go. And the last here we have Purvis Ellison.
Number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, he was number 1. What year was he number 1?
88.
Yeah, maybe 88. Because he played the 89-90 season, probably 89 actually.
Yeah, 89.
Yeah, but I don't know for sure. It just gives the last season. But
we talk about speed of the game. It's like, look at these guys. There's a center in the league. That guy looks like he's like 180 pounds compared to what centers look like.
Let's play that game though quickly with you. I'm gonna give you get 2 seconds to answer it. Okay. Willie Harrison.
Well, William Harrison. What was a?
The answer is either NBA president.
Yeah,
That'd be William Henry Harrison.
Yeah, you're giving people nicknames.
No, his friends called him Willie.
Okay.
There's no question about it. You go read history books. Okay,
fair enough.
I mean, there's a lot of these guys. You know. Okay.
Who else you got?
All right, you ready? Ben Franklin.
He was neither. Ben Franklin.
No, he was a 2nd round pick.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, he was a 2nd round pick.
He definitely wasn't a president. Most people think he was a president.
Yeah, because most people do think that's a trick question, and you did not go for it.
Philadelphia.
Smart guy. Should we go for some other ones? Okay, well, I have to. Okay, Andy Johnson.
President.
Andrew Johnson.
And
I think he was the 17th president of the United States after Lincoln, no? Or maybe 18th.
That might be right. I don't.
Maybe
I
18th.
Can't tell you.
Maybe 18th. Yeah. Somewhere in there, 17 or 18. So, are there any other guy? You guys got any other? No others? I'm not going to go with Milford Fillmore or Millard Fillmore.
Yeah, president.
That's a president. I mean, then you're getting to the.
Now I'm trying to think of a 2nd round draft pick. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I can give you second. I mean, 2nd round draft picks. I mean, I just Dan Gibson.
Boobie Gibson, right?
Daniel Gibson.
Yeah, draft pick.
You gotta mix up there for you. He was our 2nd. Great pick, great shooter, great guy.
Boobie, right?
Yeah, Boobie. Yeah. So I'll tell you what. That's enough of that. I mean, that's hard to do on the fly. I think I have to sort of clean that part of it up.
I like the nicknames though. That's a good.
Yeah, the concept of going. Yeah, we'll clean that up. So anyway, I'll tell you what. I want to thank you, and I know you're going out to Seattle for some business tonight. Have a safe trip.
Thank you very much.
And continue with the great success of StockX, man. And the platform is cooking, and I can't wait to see what happens over the next few years here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So thank you, Josh Luber, everybody, CEO of StockX. I'm Dan Gilbert for the Speed of the Game from downtown Detroit, and we'll see you next time on our podcast that is called again, The Speed of the Game.